Say what, Shorty Corleone, crank with Shorty Corleone, WHUR 96.3, and Sirius XM HUR Voices. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the privilege and the honor to have the crooner of go-go. That's right. Washington, D.C.'s go-go has a crooner. His name is Mr. Michael Muse. For those who don't know, he has been in the game for several decades. He was bitten by the bug when he was in high school, and he's going to share some of those experiences with us on the show, from the first time performing at the Capitol Center to, man, putting out so many bangers and being a staple in the culture of go-go and creating the vocal melodic patterns that you hear from so many other vocalists in the go-go bands. This all started, and I'm going to give him the crown. It all started for my big brother, Michael Muse. Mike, how you doing?
Hey, Shorty. Good to be here, man. Like I was telling you earlier, you're on top of so many things, man. I can't keep up with you anymore, man. But all praises to you, man. I'm proud of you and everything that you're doing, brother. Truly.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, and here's something else from the vault. When I was a kid down in Linda, Poland, my uncles would play these RE tapes. And of course, I didn't know, what was going on. So I had to study all of the parts, right? And that was before I snuck into Southeast Gardens down Southern Ave.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it was so much going on when you listen to these tapes. And I would just imagine myself being there, following all the voices. Yeah. And one voice, you know what I'm saying, that caught my ear, and man, I would study everything that you did, man.
Oh, wow.
yeah, that's you and I never had that conversation, man. I would study.
Right.
I'm talking about like all of the assisting background notes and things that you heard that you placed, in support of Benny and Lawrence and James, and the things you would do even when Dave did lead on certain parts. Like you were the original vocal blanket, if you will, covering all the parts. And it may not have been the biggest parts, but it was the small detail parts that made everything complete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. As a singer, I guess as a singer, you hear those things. Some people don't hear those things, and those I try to tell folks all the time. As a singer, there's certain things we listen for to give us the feel of the song, and a lot of times, being in bands, they may not play just that little sound that you need to hear. And I guess with me hearing those things, those were just the parts that I would add in vocally, and sometimes even sound like a real instrument, and try to fill those gaps, man. So
yeah, and it works. It works because as I studied, you would end up being one of the keyboard lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Or one of the guitar lines, and then maybe 3 or 4 shows later, you would actually hear that interpretation happening from the instrumentalist, the musician.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I guess back then, the way go-go formatted, the shows were formatted. As a singer, you might get 2 songs, then you're shaking a tambourine for the rest of the night. So I had to do something.
You had to do something. Because other than that, you're on the front line waiting, to get the option pass.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to create a lane.
There you go. You already know, man. Yes,
sir. Yeah. So, did you get the invite, or when did the sound of go-go get your attention, or what was the light bulb moment of, you know what, I'm gonna give this a shot. I'm gonna add this flavor to it, or I think I can do this, right? because back then and even now, it was still a social climate
Mm-hmm.
of pretty much social acceptance
Right.
without without the direction of I need to get in here so I can be accepted, but just
Yeah.
also be in the know of what was the social climate
Mm-hmm.
during that time. So was it a friend to say, "Hey, you should X, Y, and Z," or were you in the room, or were you in the band room? Like, how did that happen? When did you get the call? And
Mm-hmm.
what was it like the first time the performance worked?
Well, I will start from scratch. I
Yeah.
always knew I could sing.
Right.
I
Yeah.
found out I was blessed with that gift when I was like 5 years old. You
Okay.
know, they have you singing nursery rhymes in kindergarten and whatever. And I always noticed that I wanted to sound just like the record, or I sounded a lot different than the regular kids who would just belt out a tone. And as I would sing it, singing is a spiritual thing. I would actually feel a certain way when I would sing. Thus, I knew I had something. So, mom, being the '70s soul sister that she is,
Yeah.
man, we had the greatest music. We had Earth, Wind, and Fire. We had Dionne Warwick. We had Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight. Man, the list
Yeah.
goes on. We're so blessed to have lived through that genre of music because that's where everything is created from now, basically. So,
Absolutely.
between the ages of 9 and 12, going to Catholic school, I was singing to little girls on the phone. You know what I mean? Had the big afro, thought I was Foster Silver. I was
Hey,
singing to
shout
girls
out
on
to
the
the
phone
Silvers. Shout out to the
to the
Silvers. Yes,
Silvers,
sir.
man. And I tell you, it would just always make me feel a certain way. So, long story short, I still had a bashfulness, and my grandmother used to make me sing in church sometimes, but I would always be afraid, and I'd be real nervous, and the anxiety would come. But when I got to Dunbar, man, I saw all those fly girls up there, and I was a little Southeast kid going there, trying to compete with these slick Northwest cats. I ain't had no money, man. I think my whole 10th grade wardrobe, me and my man, we stole it from Sunny Surplus on 9th Street.
Right,
So
right,
I get
right.
up Dunbar looking like I'm going camping, khakis and flannel shirts. And so what can I do to get some attention up here?
Yeah.
2 weeks later, they advertised for the talent show. I
Okay.
said, to hell with it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. And I sang Always and Forever by Heatwave,
Okay. Right.
and I
Yeah.
killed it. My first time
Hmm.
singing in front of an audience outside of a small church. And I did great. I felt good the whole nine.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to me, Michael Neal's brother, I can't remember his first name, but Funky Ned's brother actually worked at Riggs Bank with my aunt.
Mm.
They had just fired Joe Robb.
Mm.
And she was like, well, my nephew sings because she had heard me at the talent show. She didn't even know I could sing. So between her and Michael Neal's brother, they set up the audition.
Wow.
Um, I think when I went to the basement, it was Miss Mac. I think Scotty was down there, Foots, maybe Ned and White Boy. I don't think Little Benny was in there. And I sang a Peebo Bryson song. It's called "I Am Love." Wasn't one of his biggest hits, but it gave me the vocal, the vocal texture that I wanted and what I want to present. Man, I sang that, and I was 16 at the time, mind you. Sang it
Wow.
just like Peebo Bryson,
Yeah.
and all of their mouths dropped to the floor.
Yeah.
And the next words I heard, "Be back up here for rehearsal next Monday," or whenever they did it. And the rest is history, man.
That's
With him
beautiful.
anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
That's
and that's what I'm saying. When things are for you, they just come to you. I wasn't looking for that. That came to me.
yeah.
So I just take advantage of those opportunities, and it worked out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So we're gonna fast forward. We're gonna have a little go-go trivia during this interview. Right? Right.
Yeah.
Get on the wagon.
Hmm.
Get on the wagon. And the backgrounds to get on the wagon. That's one of the things that we talked about of hearing these parts, right? Because there's one, two, three, four vocal lines that are happening. And you took those words and created another melodic pattern. Like, like how did that happen? Or what was your mind? How did that develop? Like what was the light bulb again? in your mind and say, let me try this? Or does it just
Well,
come out?
it sometimes it's pre-rehearsed, and as you
Okay,
know, a
okay.
lot of times sometimes things just come to you while you're up there.
Yeah, yeah,
As
absolutely.
far as
Yeah.
that particular song, honestly, I can't remember exactly what you're talking about in
Oh,
that.
that wagon, wagon.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's just one of those things where I was like, where can I fit in here, and how
Yeah,
can I make it sound different than what I was used to hearing, on all those tapes when I was like 14 before I got in the group. So
yeah,
I just wanted to add my staple to a lot of that stuff, and that was one good example that I
yeah.
didn't even remember, but you did.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's so many different highlighted moments during those classic tapes
Hmm.
of filling in the gap, you will, but tastefully, right?
Yeah,
And always complimenting the person who's doing the lead on whatever the parts are.
yeah,
And
yeah.
man, that was for me, that was my early education in boot camp before boot camp started. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I tell you a perfect example of that. Glass House. When they wrote that, I didn't have a part. So I had to make up don't throw no stone. And that became the biggest part of the song.
Yeah.
That's what everybody shouts when they see me now.
Oh
And
wow.
for whatever reason, they don't play it anytime they call me back. But
Yeah.
that was one that proves exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. The Capitol Center. What age were you when you performed at your first show at the Capitol Center? And what was that like the day of? Because for me, or my thoughts of a big arena, performing at
Hmm.
the Capitol Center was much more bigger than performing at Capital One
Yeah.
back then, you
Yeah,
know?
back then, absolutely.
Do
Absolutely.
you remember that particular time and getting prepared for that show and what was the
I
hype
do.
in the school and all that business?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there were some heavy hitters on that first show I did with them. One of which was my singing idol, O'Brien. He was actually
Wow,
on their first Capitol Center show we did. I believe New Edition was on there,
really?
and
Okay.
they were little, but they had opened up for us a few times at the Coliseum when they had their first hit, Candy Girl. So by the time we got to Capitol Center, they were little superstars by then. So just looking forward to that, knowing that O'Brien would be there. I think Cameo was also on the show.
Yeah,
Uh, man, the excitement, the build up to it, knowing that all my peers would be there.
yeah.
Growing up in Southeast, but going to school in Northwest, I had a whole new set of friends who were eager to see me perform, and that was nothing compared to the actual feeling of being backstage, dressing room right next door to New Edition. Sugar Ray Leonard was in the back. And I turned it out. I think that was a sold out show. I
Yeah.
sang "Late in My Life" by Michael Jackson, and by the time I got to the middle of the song, you couldn't even hear me anymore for the screams, man. It was awesome. It was
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. Yeah, 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 man. Incredible. So we're gonna fast forward um, from the days of Dunbar and your early years with Rare Essence,
Mhm.
and the pivot, if you will, to set up the next tier of life, and the decision to say, okay, I got to go and do this military thing. I got to set up for the future. Like, how challenging and mentally difficult was that to make that pivot and that life changing adjustment?
Well, it was sort of like forced by fire, so to speak. I had one of those mothers that best mom in the world. But after high school, if you're not showing any signs of getting a good job, and I actually did, I went to Howard. I went to college for 2 years, but I think my biggest mistake was that I didn't go away. I probably would have finished. So, she just came to me one day and she said, "You're not going to school. You're not working. This little band money's not making it. What are you going to do?" So that's when the light bulb went off. I was like, and I didn't tell her. I just got up one morning and jogged up to the recruiting office in Fairfax Village and talked to the Navy recruiter, and he sold me in on it. And long story short, it's probably one of the best decisions I had ever made in my life because, as you know, during the crack epidemic in the mid '80s, man, life was crazy out here, and I kind of dibbled and dabbled in that on both sides of the track, and it just wasn't for me, so I had to get away and find another way, and it
Yeah.
actually saved my life, man. Actually
Awesome.
saved my life. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. 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 My dad, military guy,
Hmm.
um, he fits the DNA of lieutenant, sergeant, captain,
Okay.
all of those
Okay.
many things. And he had a focus of we're gonna give this a shot. And I also did ROTC, etc. I didn't make that left. I didn't make that
Yeah.
left turn. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But as I was educated later, um, the successful benefits of that tenure and
Hmm.
accomplishing that feat
Hmm.
plays a major part in the second half, of your journey, et cetera, man. So,
Yeah.
I commend you, you know what I'm saying, for pivoting fast. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's crazy because everything that I was trying to get away from, all the negative things, when I did get home in '90, I got right back into the same crazy
yeah.
stuff, man. Sometimes it takes you getting hit over the head a few times before you finally grow up. And I tell people all the time, I finally grew up at the age of 30 and
Yeah,
now I'm 57. So I'm like a 27-year-old man,
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
28-year-old man.
yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I get it. All right, so you coming home, and
Hmm.
there's a spinoff from the group for Essence,
Hmm.
and it's Little Benny and the Masters. What was your thought when you got home, and or while you were away, and you were hearing this sound that had a little more, I'm gonna say, chord rhythm influence
Hmm.
versus groove percussion, kind of thing. And okay, this is gonna be fun, right? Because you
Okay.
got friends on both sides.
Right.
But to say, all right, let's give it a go. Like,
Hmm.
what was that mentally for you as you came home?
Well, let me just give you a little history. I actually started with Lil Benny the Masters before I went in the military.
Wow, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
when he was playing at the Room, and they had DJ Cool was still the DJ down at the Room, and
Yeah,
that's when we were doing Oh Louise and Hey Buddy Buddy. That's that first round of Lil Benny stuff, and then of course he recorded Let Me Show You when I went in the military, and everybody thought that was me singing, but that was
yeah,
Luther singing. I was
right,
gone
right,
already.
right.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
actually started with him when he first started. After he made Who Comes the Boogie, and he put it together, and then when I did leave to go in the military, it was his group that I was leaving. Ray
mm.
Essence I had left them in like 1985. I went in the military in '87.
Oh
So for
wow,
about a
okay,
year and a
education.
half,
Yeah,
yeah, about a year and a half, I was dealing with Lil Benny.
yeah,
Say, yeah.
yeah,
So, and then to come back to it, and you're right, you did touch on something. When I got back, I didn't immediately get back with Rare Essence. I think I did spend a minute with Benny again uh, before, and I get my timelines mixed up. Blame it on the age, man. Um, and then Proper Utensils is somewhere in the mixing. You know what I mean?
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. What was one of my favorite jams back then with Benny? The fries and the shake joint. Was
Oh
that
yeah.
before, after the Navy run?
Actually, I'm gonna tell you, Lawrence made that up with Rare Essence, and Lil Benny
Really?
kind of carried. Yeah, we were doing that when Lawrence was Rare Essence.
See what I'm
And
saying? This is a little
yeah,
go-go trivia, ladies and gentlemen.
yes,
This is the
indeed.
backstory. The backstories right here.
And I tell people too, when Proper Utensils put out Rump Shaker, Benny was already doing Rump Shaker with Lil Benny and the Masters, and then he carried it over and recorded it with Proper Utensils. So you know,
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
things I'm actually still learning that I thought I knew that I don't know about Rare Essence and other bands as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Extended family tree all day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have opportunity to have conversations with the croon of go-go, Michael Muse, and we're touching, based on the early years of his career, and the pivoting turn to try the military out in support of his second half of his career, which is panned out, and we're now going to get into um, this world of classic R&B, right?
Classic.
Classic R&B, the music we grew up on. You had an opportunity to be on another big stage, not just the big stage of the DMV, but
Mm,
a world stage of soul.
yeah.
And when I got the news and then I saw the clip, man, I was so excited. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
it's such a great fit, and your vocal style and vocal tone, complemented that act. So let's touch bases on that, and how that whole thing came about. I'm gonna let you
Okay.
clarify one of two groups,
Yeah.
so we know which came first. So if you don't mind,
Okay.
let's share with the people your pivoting moment and going into another big stage of music, and soul music from one of the legendary acts
Okay.
that produced soul music.
Well, the hunger for it started actually when I got out of go go. I got out of go go kind of with a bad taste in my mouth because of unnamed people that kind of push my buttons the wrong way. But that was
Yeah,
enough motivation for me, and I kind of felt like it's time to follow your own dream, man. As you know, being in somebody else's band, you're following their dream. Um, and as a grown man, I couldn't, that just didn't sit right in my spirit anymore. I knew I had more to offer the world vocally than I could give them with go-go band.
yeah,
And so what I did, I started doing solo shows. And since I have an old soul, most of my shows consisted of 70s, 80s, and 90s music. Um, some neo soul, but
yeah.
mostly those three decades. And so what I started to do, I just started to put video clips up on YouTube of all my shows singing all these classic songs. Fortunately, I have a friend named Keith Busey. I'll give him a shout out. Who's been playing in the old school genre of music for years. I mean, he's played for Heatwave, he's played for the Delphonics, the Stylistics, and now he's gotten to the point where he's the MD for the whole 70s Soul Tour. And
Wow.
he told me one day, because he used to play in prop utensils with me, he said, Mike, when you're ready to get out and do your own thing, let me know. So once I started doing all those shows, some of them were his. I get a call from a guy by the name of Johnny Johnson, who was a former Delphonic. And he said, "Man, I like what you're doing. Maybe we ought to do something together." Long story short, didn't hear from him about a year and a half after that. And he called me again and he said, "Mike, Stylistics need a new singer. Are you interested?" Just like that, out of the
Mm.
clear sky. And I said, "You damn right, I'm interested."
Right, right, right,
And
right.
so he gave me the manager's. He put the manager on the three-way, and we talked for a little while. And they set up the audition, and I went up there to Philly and auditioned. And sometimes you think you do good, but then you hear yourself on tape or you hear the recording back, you're like, I didn't like that. And that was one of those auditions. But when I got back home, I thought I blew it and everything. But 2 days later, one of the original members, Mr. Herb Morrell, he called me on the phone and he said, "Mike, are you ready? You got your passport? Welcome aboard." And man, I tell you, it took everything I had in me not to just break down, because we're looking at, these are the same guys whose songs I used to sing songs to girls on the phone when I was a
Right.
kid, man.
Won't he
And
do it?
yeah, and for that to happen, and it was kind of mind blowing. I did get to travel to Japan with them. They love soul music in Japan. Uh, I got a bunch of accolades. Even the original lead singer, Mr. Russell Tompkins, when it was all said and done, he told me, said, Mike, they should have kept you, man. And now he's the source. If the source told me they should have kept me, that's all I needed to hear. But yeah, that journey ended like as soon as it started, but it was an experience. I learned a lot from it. Got my name out there in the circuit, and
Yeah.
a few other things happened. I'll let you lead into the other things if you want, but that's what happened with the stylist.
This other stage that you have had an opportunity to share your vocal talents and stage presence and everything that you've done
Hmm.
prior to um, taking the talents to a whole nother level, right? And I'm gonna say a whole
Hmm.
nother level because we're now getting to share this with the world. We've shared it with the DMV for over 20, 30 years
Yeah.
plus, but to now be able to take it on the world stage, and we're talking the likes of the stylistics, and from the stylistics, as you say, one door closes, God opens another door, and the next door was the stage to perform with who?
Well, there's a middleman there. I
I
actually got
come
a call from the Soft Tones.
okay,
They were a lesser known group out of Baltimore, but they had a couple big hits. But I think in the interim of being with the Soft Tones, it actually got me to sharpen my skill because rest in peace, Marvin Brown. Marvin Brown, the original lead singer of the Soft Tones, probably has the greatest falsetto tenor that I mean, it's just as far as purity and strength and tone. Marvin was incredible, and to be
wow,
asked to step in and fill the void for his passing, what was an incredible thing in itself. And I'm actually still with them, but after I got with them, the late great William Poogie Hart, the original lead singer for the Delphonics, passed away about 2.5 years ago. Fortunately for me, the same guy, Johnny Johnson, that called me about the stylistics, used to sing with the Delphonics. After Poogie died, Poogie's wishes was that Johnny Johnson reform the Delphonics in his passing to keep the legacy alive.
wow,
I was the first person Johnny Johnson called.
wow,
So again, to be asked to step in and William Poogie Hart, Philly soul, uh, 70s falsetto vocal legend. It's almost like
mm,
stepping in the shoes of James Brown,
wow,
just in a different genre of music. Out of all those Philly soul groups, I think the Delphonics had more hits than any of them. And
mm,
they're the ones that kind of started that sound for the
mm.
likes of the Stylistics and the Blue Magics and stuff like that. So it is really a big honor to have that position now as well.
Yeah, incredible. So the acts that you used to study and mimic and perform those songs as a teenager, you have been granted the opportunity to actually perform these songs currently.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Incredible. And incredible. Incredible. That thing to say, be careful what you wish for,
Yeah.
is real,
Yeah.
all right?
Yes,
Man.
indeed. Indeed.
Performing
So,
with the Delphonics and the
mhm.
energy from that particular audience or entertaining that audience, what is that feeling like, right? Because you're also um, giving a timeline of nostalgia, if you will,
Mhm.
for those
Mhm.
folks that are going down memory lane, the soundtracks of their lives, or the songs of their
Right.
soundtrack of their lives, etc.
Right.
um, what's the energy from the folks when you're on stage performing those classics?
The energy level is high. A lot of those songs are slow songs, but as you say, it takes them back to their simpler times in life. It takes them back to when they met their husband or their wife or their first love, or when they first fell in love, or their teenage high school years. All those good things that we try to hold on to. And it
Yeah.
makes it kind of easy for me because even though those songs were out when I was 5, 6 years old, I attribute them to being the soundtrack of my life as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can feel that spirit that's in that music, just like someone maybe in their 70s could. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So and that music, the writing back then was just the art and the thought and the passion that they put into the words, man, along with the orchestrated music. I mean, you had producers like Tom Bell. I mean, he was just like a genius, you
Yeah.
know, putting all that stuff together and to be a part of it now to carry on the legacy is truly a blessing.
Beautiful thing, man. Beautiful
Yeah,
thing. Wow. Didn't I blow your mind this time?
that's the Delphonics.
That's the Delphonics. That's the
Yeah.
Delphonics. Okay. All
So
right,
yeah,
all right.
that's one of the songs I'll be singing. And I don't know whether I should share this news with you now, but we got a pretty big show coming up in August with the
Okay.
Delphonics. Yeah.
Here in the district?
No, it's out on. I think it's in L.A. But Diana Ross is actually on the show.
Beautiful.
Yeah, don't get no
Beautiful,
bigger
man.
than that.
Don't get no bigger than that. And man, I know you're gonna do what you do best. You know what I'm saying?
I
It's
just
in
want to meet Tracy. I just want to meet her daughter. Yeah, I put it out there.
Say what, say what, say what.
That's it, baby. You already know.
I already know. I love it. I love it. So there's something going on here in the DMV this coming weekend, which is Mother's Day weekend.
Hmm.
You're actually going to be performing at Vision and Vibes for the Mother's
Hmm.
Day brunch, right?
Yes.
You're going to be performing with the Ziona band, and
Hmm.
you know you're going to deliver some of those classics or some of the music catalog from Michael Muse. So
Exactly.
let's talk about Sunday Mother's Day, all you can eat brunch, and not even just the Mother's Day brunch. You're performing at your old stomping grounds,
Yeah.
New Jersey Avenue, which
New
is a
Jersey
block away
Avenue,
from
baby.
Dumbo.
You know it. You know it. Every time I go up there, I'm ready to get out and kiss the ground. You know, that's
Yeah,
sacred ground to me.
yeah.
But Ziona, that's my new band.
Okay,
Consists of myself, my daughter Milana, who also was blessed with the gift of song. But the whole
beautiful.
concept of the band itself is to bring the grown and sexy back to grown and sexy. You know what I
I love
mean?
it.
To get it back
Hmm.
to those that Club U type of feel that we had in the early 2000s when Neo Soul first came out. And, you know, grown and sexy was really grown and sexy. You know, unfortunately, you know, not to criticize, just an observation, but I see a lot of the local bands that are the top 3 or 4 bands playing all the same songs. So
Yeah,
with the music knowledge and the catalog that I have, you know, I can bring a more creative feel and some new material to that genre.
absolutely.
You know, people
Yeah,
our age, we still want to go out too. So I'll always
absolutely.
be guaranteed to hear some different stuff when you come see Ziona.
I love it. I love
And the
it.
name
Zion,
Ziona is actually my granddaughter's name. Um,
beautiful.
quick story behind that. You know, everyone that knows me knows about my son who's been missing for almost 12 years now. Well, he left us Ziona. She was born shortly after he disappeared. And you know, my mission in life now is to have something greater than me, which is to live for her and make her name, you know, spread around the world and make her life beautiful because unfortunately her mom passed away a few years ago. So she's now 11 years old. Her mom's gone and she's never met her dad because he's been missing. So Poppy got to make her life beautiful. So that's
That's
where the
great.
name Zionic came.
Blessings on blessings, Mike. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And you're building a legacy right before our eyes, man. So, man, I want to salute you in your continued journey in this thing that we love so much.
Yeah.
This music, this life of music.
That's
And
it, man.
man, you got a home here with Crank with Shorty Corleone. You're always Big Brother Mike to me. And man, it's been truly an honor and a blessing to call you my big brother. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you too, man. Super duper proud of you, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Muse, man, to come hear some of those vibes and the sounds from Ziona, find your way over to Vision and Vibes, 1445 New Jersey Avenue, 1545 New Jersey Avenue from 12 to 5 p.m. Tickets are $65. And let me tell you guys, man,
All right.
that brunch over there is something that you have to check out, man. Go with an appetite. You won't be disappointed. Bottomless mimosas. And man, it's the place to be. Bring your mom out, bring your missus out, and their folks too. It's going to be a great party, great vibes this Sunday, Mother's Day, with our guy Michael Muse and the band Ziona. Again, Mike, thanks for hanging out with us with the Crank with Shorty Corleone show. Blessings on blessings, continued success.
Thank you, brother. And they can find all my music on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff.
Say what? Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.